Have you ever pondered the profound significance of the term anointed or Messiah? The term is deeply rooted in Hebrew tradition, a term that holds a weight of expectation and hope. The people of Israel during the time of Jesus' birth were yearning for their Messiah deliverer. They were ready for a hero to drive their enemies into the sea, for a king to ascend the throne of Israel and rule them in peace and righteousness. But what if I told you that the Messiah they were expecting wasn't the Messiah they received? Jesus, the Anointed of God, did not come as a soldier, as a political liberator, or as an earthly king. He did not come to drive their enemies into the sea or to sit on a grand throne. Instead, Jesus came as a shepherd, a guide, a mentor. He came to rule not a kingdom built of stone and earth, but the kingdom within the hearts of people. His throne was not one of gold and precious stones, but one of humility and grace. His crown was not one of opulence and power, but one of compassion and love. His mission was not to establish a political kingdom, but to establish principles by which people could experience inner peace and righteousness. He brought teachings of love, compassion, and understanding, encouraging us to look inward for the strength and wisdom to face our challenges. Jesus, the Messiah, wanted to rule us not by outward coercion, but by the inner compulsion of our hearts. He wanted to be our personal deliverer, to anoint us for the tasks before us, to guide us towards a path of righteousness and inner peace. So, let us welcome Jesus into our hearts. Let him be our personal Messiah, our guide, our mentor. Let him teach us the principles of love, compassion, and understanding. Let him anoint us for the tasks before us and guide us towards inner peace and righteousness. Jesus, the Anointed of God, came not as a political liberator, but as a spiritual guide, leading us towards inner peace and righteousness. Born in a humble setting, Jesus was destined for a mission far beyond the ordinary. His birth wasn't marked by grandeur, but by simplicity and a profound sense of divine intervention. The people of Israel, yearning for deliverance, were awaiting a Messiah, a deliverer, to drive their enemies into the sea and to rule them with justice and peace. However, the mission of Jesus, the Anointed of God, was not one of political deliverance. He was not destined to be a soldier Messiah wielding a sword and leading armies. His kingdom was not of this world, but of the heart. His throne was not built of stone and gold, but of love and compassion. Jesus came not to conquer territories, but to rule hearts. His aim was not to impose an outward rule, but to instill principles that could guide people to inner peace and righteousness. He sought to rule not by coercion, but by the inner compulsion of his subjects. His was a reign of love, where the scepter was not a rod of iron, but a shepherd's staff guiding the lost. Anointed by God, Jesus brought a different kind of deliverance. His deliverance transcended political boundaries, reaching into the essence of human existence. It was a deliverance from fear, from sin, from despair. It was a deliverance that brought peace to troubled hearts and righteousness to wayward souls. His message was universal, resonating with the deepest longings of the human heart. It was a message of love, of forgiveness, of compassion. It was a message that echoed in the hearts of people from diverse backgrounds, uniting them in a common quest for peace and righteousness. In the end, the mission of Jesus, the Anointed, was not about ruling a physical kingdom, but about transforming hearts. It was about guiding people to a life of peace and righteousness, a life guided by love and compassion, a life in harmony with the divine will. Jesus, the Anointed, brought a message of peace and righteousness that resonated with the deepest longings of the human heart. Jesus, the Anointed of God, invites us all to embrace his teachings for a life of inner peace and righteousness. Remember, the term anointed springs from the same Hebrew root that signifies Messiah. At Jesus' birth, Israel was yearning for their Messiah deliverer to rid them of their adversaries. They hoped for a Messiah to ascend the throne of Israel and guide them in tranquility and righteousness. Yet Jesus did not first arrive as a soldier Messiah for political salvation. He came with a mission to rule the hearts of people and provide principles for inner peace and righteousness. The universal appeal of Jesus' message resonates even today. It's not about force or coercion, but about the inner compulsion of righteousness and peace. This is the true power of Jesus, the Anointed of God. In letting Jesus, the Anointed, rule our hearts, we open ourselves to a life of peace, righteousness, and profound spiritual fulfillment.